upskilling your new grads so they treat like you in a fraction of the time. G'day guys, it's Pete here from Clinic Mastery, and today I'm going to be talking through how we train new grads in order to speed up the process from getting them to where they are when they finish at uni, to where you would like them to be, treating like an absolute superstar. Now, before we get into this, please, as always, like and subscribe. It helps us to reach more people and to have a bigger impact. And if you would like to, I've also attached below the Assess Your Clinic link. Now, let's get stuck into it. This is going to be a short, sharp, and shiny one today, but I think it's going to be super valuable if you're someone who hires new graduate therapists or therapists with minimal experience. Now, there are two things we're going to be covering today. The first one is going to be clinical observation and how we can be improving that. And the second part, number two, is going to be our clinical note taking. Okay, so strap yourself in. It's going to be a great ride. Now, the first one here that we said is clinical observation. So often when we go into clinical observation, what happens is if you go in, you look for the things that you know you are there. You look for the things that you know to look for. But the problem with this is, let's say you've got a new grad therapist and in their mind, the technical aspects of doing the do are the really important things. The problem with this is that they will see those and they will only see those. And what they typically won't see are the things you want them to see. They won't see how you interact with the patient, how you make the patient feel safe, how you calm them down, how you listen to them, how you ask really fantastic open-ended questions, and you go really, really deep into those areas that really count. Okay, they often won't see that because they're too busy seeing the things that they already know. And that's life. We are going to see the things that are relevant to us that we know to look for. It's like, imagine this, right? When you buy a car, suddenly you start seeing that car everywhere now, okay? Because your brain knows to look for it. And so what we want to do when we come into clinical observation is to help their brain to know what to look for, okay? And so what we really need to do is to map out what are those key parts of a consult that we expect a new grad needs to improve in. Now, you'll probably have a general list for this, and you can also have a very specific list based on the person that you have in front of you. But when you bring them in, I would say give them two questions and say, I want you to answer these two questions through this clinical observation session. So take some notes, and you may say, let's pick two things that they wouldn't typically look for, right? Number one, I want you to write down how I make this person feel safe, supported, and that I'm the therapist that can help them. All right. Everything I do that you think contributes to that, take notes on that. I would also like you to write down how I use open-ended questions to get more information out of them. Those two things, and again, these are just examples, but they're two things I would say new grads aren't particularly good at doing because they're so laser focused on making sure they go through their little checklist. Okay. And I've been there myself. I'm sure you've been there as well. That is challenging. Now, after the session, now that they've taken those notes, we want to ask them three questions. The first question is, how will I use this? How will I use this information that I've taken down? The second question is, why is it crucial that I use this information? Why is it really important? And the third and final question is going, when? When am I going to use this? And by asking those three questions, again, to write down and answer those three questions, they're going to have cemented in how they can use the knowledge, why they must use that knowledge, and when they will use the knowledge that they've picked up. This is a little trick from Jim Quick, who you may have seen on YouTube ads as the memory guy, as to how you can improve your perception and how you can improve your learning and speed up the learning process. Okay. Now, the second one we said was clinical notes. Now, I believe that when I talk to a lot of young therapists, one of the key things that they say when they talk about burnout is that it's not the seeing clients, it's not the doing the do, right? If you're a physio, it's not working with clients. If you're a psychologist, it's not the time you spend in the room with a client. It's the time outside the room that makes you feel burnt out. And when we really break it down, it is the non-face-to-face clinical aspects of a role that really make new grads feel like they're burning out. So this is a problem we need to solve. And one of the key things, and I'm a physiotherapist, so I'll say from a physiotherapy perspective, is I see new grads, they write these in-depth notes. They are just 1 to 2 pages long, even for a subsequent appointment. And there are so many irrelevant things within this note. And so I would say the second thing that you can be really working on is going through and helping them to understand and do this intensively for a 3-month period, I would say, is help them to understand what needs to be in the note and what doesn't need to be in the note. Because as one of my mentors said, you're only as good as your previous notes as a healthcare professional. Because when you see that patient again and you've been seeing 30, 40, 50, 60 patients a week, you can't possibly remember everything that you did with them. You can't possibly remember that plan. And so you need your notes to be your assistant in helping you deliver an amazing next session. And if they're not fantastic notes, and if they're not succinct notes, and they don't have a clear plan, your next session is not going to be that great. And so if there's way too much fluff and you've gone to way too much detail, not only have you spent so much time doing this and stressed out so much over it, but when you look over that note to prepare for the next session, you don't know what's important. There's too much other stuff in here. It takes you a long time to go through that. So what we want to do is we want to help therapists, and I say do this intensively over 3 months. We want to help therapists to be able to have succinct, accurate notes that document everything that needs to be medically and legally documented. Okay. And so how you can help them with this is to go through their notes and actually go, you may not need this in here. Ask them, why have you got this in here? What was your reason for doing that? And what you'll find is often there's a lot of things in there that shouldn't be in there, but there's also a lot of things that should be in there that may be missed out because there's so much fluff going in. Okay, so they're the two things that I would get you to focus on to really accelerate the development of your new grads, but at the same time to decrease burnout. And we know that this is a word being thrown around a lot at the moment. And so to understand what causes burnout in young therapists, and then how can we decrease that? Now, also, we do have a fantastic resource for this. And below this video, I'm going to leave my email address. Please flick me an email at peter@clinicmastery.com and I'll send through this resource to you. All right, my friends, the Assess Your Clinic link is down below. If you haven't already done that, give that one a tickle. It is worth the 5 to 10 minutes that it's going to take to help you to understand what are the opportunities within your business. And I will see you in the next video.